Pollution has become a very big problem today in America, and that is the topic of my speech today. The purpose of my speech today is that I want to inform you on the importance of preserving the environment for basically the rest of our lives. I'm going to talk about when we started to notice it, air, land and soil, water, and light and noise pollution. Okay. To begin, Congressional Digest says that in a 1970 memo to President Nixon from his advisory council said that we would end up in an environmental crisis, which I don't know if you consider the environmental crisis right now, but they said that the population would increase from 200 to 260 million, which means that pollution would also increase. There would be a higher demand for fresh water, increasing from 350 to 800 billion gallons per day, and that would increase the amount of water coming from dirty waterways. They said that we junked 7 million cars, 100 million tires, 20 million tons of paper, 28 billion bottles, and 48 billion cans. We had a huge future needs for the land, minerals, and energy. And in order to protect those, we needed to make some big changes. First, I'll talk about air pollution. Grover wrote in the Encyclopedia of Environment and Society that there are 3 types of air pollution. There's carbon monoxide, which mainly comes from motor vehicles. There's chlorofluorocarbons, which come from like cleaning solvents and propellants and aerosol canisters, which have been banned due to the harmful effects on the ozone layer. And nitrogen oxides, which are common in urban areas, and they are found in natural resources and they come from fuel combustion. There's also toxic pollution, which is very risky to humans. I mean, it can cause cancer, birth defects, and respiratory ailments. It is also harmful to the environment because, like, mercury and lead can settle in the soil, and then animals eat that, and it basically like poisons them. Some examples would be asbestos, dioxin, mercury, and lead compounds. The next type of pollution is land and soil. The Global Reference on Environment, Energy, and Natural Resources online collection says that our activities and misuse of land resources has led to a degradation of the Earth's land surfaces. Some examples would be agrochemical sources like fertilizers and pesticides, basically, where heavy metals seep into the soil. There's also urban sources, so like our waste goes into landfills. And there's also noxious emissions from coal and nuclear power plants, and they contaminate the soil. There's also chemical warfare where, so like during Vietnam, we used Agent Orange, and we covered vast amounts of land with it and killed a lot of vegetation and many other things. And there are also nuclear accidents, like the 1989 disaster at the Chernobyl power plant in Ukraine, where the land was contaminated by radioactive elements. And stuff like that can be very expensive to clean up, and it's probably a nuisance. Next, I'll talk about water pollution. The Encyclopedia of Environment and Society says that it has worsened since World War II. The effects can be devastating for living beings. It destroys aquatic life, reduces reproductive ability, and ecosystems doesn't support biological diversity. Sources of water pollution could be city sewage, also industrial waste like paper mills and distilleries. They don't have adequate facilities, and most of the time they don't care and they can't afford them. There's also ag runoff like water and pesticides. They drain into lakes and rivers, and they can seep into the ground too. Also, petrochemicals. In the 1989 oil spill of the Exxon Valdez, it contaminated 1,500 miles of Alaskan coastline. And my last type of air pollution is light and noise. If you consider it really pollution, it's kind of questionable. The Global Reference on the Environment, Energy, Natural Resources online collection, Sagoff writes that it is defined as artificial light that illuminates more than its intended area, and it affects the natural world. So, for example, you have migrating birds that use constellations to travel. If the bright lights in the city affect the being able to see the constellations, and they can't travel. And the government can't prohibit all noise, so noise pollution is kind of questionable. I mean, how much is too much noise? For example, trains, like, is that too loud? Is it not enough? Is it just right? And people have asked whether noise pollution should be considered like a trespass. So, like, if your neighbor's playing music at night, is it interfering with your sleep? And those are basically all the types of pollution I've pretty much covered. Basically, pollution interferes with everything because it's a big part of, what we do, and we are the cause for it too. So that is it.